Matthews. Tonight I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, and we'll preview the battle here between President Bush and John Kerry in a moment. But first, the top Marine commander in Iraq says U.S. forces would take the town of Fallujah within days if insurgents don't turn in their weapons immediately. NBC's Richard Engel is in Baghdad. Richard, are we winning over there, or are we getting bogged down? What's the story in Iraq?
I think it's a difficult question to answer, Chris. We're certainly winning militarily in Fallujah. For example, there have been this truce or a ceasefire that hasn't looked very much like a ceasefire at all. There have been some pretty serious gun battles in the city, but the Marines have essentially tied their own hands there. They said they will not conduct major offensive operations like they did several weeks ago because they're trying to let this ceasefire play itself out. They've asked for people the insurgents in the city to turn in their heavy weapons. Today they received a few of those weapons, about a truckload, but they said it was, the Marines said it was just junk. These weren't the real weapons that the militants were fighting with, and the Marine commander said unless the militants make good on the terms of the truce, there's going to be another all-out assault in the city. On the other front, to answer the other part of your question, there is serious problems with the Hearts and Minds campaign, which was evidenced today in Basra. There were some angry demonstrations there after dozens of people were killed yesterday in coordinated suicide attacks, and the people of Basra today were blaming the British and the coalition in general for not doing enough to provide them security. Also today here in Baghdad, some contractors and major international firms, including USAID, decided they were scaling back their presence in Iraq, basically because it's too dangerous here. They feel unsecure. A lot of Iraqis do as well, Chris.
Let me ask you about this new tactic of the enemy. They seem to be attacking neutrals or non-American forces in order to get them angry at us.
It does seem to be having some success as well. There's been a lot of dents in the coalition that seems to be breaking down almost by the day over here. Honduras was the latest country to announce that it was going to leave. Other countries have said that they are considering pulling out if their troops get attacked. There's been this kidnapping crisis with a lot of foreign nationals feeling very much threatened. Businessmen, journalists, a lot of people here feeling that they could be next. The Russians have already started pulling most of their people out of the country, as France has also warned its civilians not to come to Iraq. Germany, the same thing, Chris.
What's it like for correspondents in terms of day-to-day security?
It's pretty terrible. It's very difficult to go out and report. In the past, I would be able to, as just one example, go around the city, meet people, find stories by coincidence. Now you have to think before you move. You want to plan every step of the way like it's some sort of military operation. I have a grab bag, a little backpack with some clothes, water, extra food that I keep by the door now. So it's a tense situation, unfortunately, for a lot of people here, including us.
Richard, can you gauge the morale factor with regard to these other countries pulling out? I mean, it's mainly the United States and a small percentage of British forces and a lot of other much smaller forces. The abrupt departure of the Spanish, the abrupt departure of the Hondurans, what impact is that having on our troops?
I think a lot of people, the troops, felt that if there's tough work to be done, it's the U.S. troops that are basically going to have to do it. And I think they had already felt that before when this month has seen an unprecedented level of violence in this country, and every time there was major fighting to be done, U.S. troops went in to reinforce the coalition forces, whether that was mostly in central Iraq, in places like Kut and around Najaf. So I think the U.S. forces already felt they were carrying the lion's share of the burden.
Let me get a sense of the battle over there. We're facing a real challenge to go into Fallujah and clean up that town that wreaks such horrible pain on Americans, to see 4 Americans' bodies burned and hung, 2 of them hung by that bridge over the Euphrates. And then, of course, down in the south where we thought we were secure down there in a stable part of the Shia-led part of the country. Is there any part of the country that's getting softer, getting more stable, more peaceful?
The northern areas, the Kurdish areas, have been consistently calm. They've had a few attacks in Erbil, Kirkuk, these 2 cities. Kirkuk's a mixed city with a lot of oil. But in general, most of the northern areas, places like Sulaymaniyah, have been very calm, and they're operating very much independently from the rest of the country, which is another potentially destabilizing factor for the unity of Iraq as the Kurds go about their own business and develop their own economy. Chris.
Okay, thank you very much. NBC's Richard Engel, who's in Baghdad. Dan Senor is a senior advisor to Paul Bremer, the head of the Coalition Provisional Authority in Iraq. Dan, thanks for talking to us today. Generally speaking, are we moving ahead in Iraq, or are we bogged down right now?
Well, Chris, we have a couple of isolated pockets where there have been some problems. Fallujah primarily, and some areas in the southern part of the country where Muqtada al-Sadr and his illegal militia have taken over government buildings and engaged in violence against the local population there. And obviously yesterday, the tragic bombings in Basra. Those are problems. We expect to see similar problems between now and June 30th. As we get closer and closer to handover of sovereignty and various individuals, organizations, terrorists try to throw things off track. But by and large, save for those areas, most of the country is returning to normalcy. It's hard to know that from the news coverage, but the fact is, unemployment is down, people are returning to work, people are trying to just rebuild their communities, get the infrastructure up and running. I mean, life is really returning to normal in much of the country. We have to worry about these isolated areas, though. We can't turn our head and hope these problems will go away. We do have to confront them.
Well, let me ask you about an interesting news development in the papers back here. That's the possibility that we're going to let some Ba'athist people, perhaps bureaucrats from the old government, be part of the new government. What is the U.S. policy right now about bringing Saddam Hussein's technocrats, perhaps, maybe not party people, but technocrats into the new government?
You know, Chris, I think there's some confusion. The de-Baathification policy that Ambassador Brimmer signed last May and then handed over to the Governing Council, and then they tinkered with it and developed their own policy in the fall, continues to be the policy. It's not changing. The policy isn't changing at all. But built into the policy, there are mechanisms for appeals. There are mechanisms to allow for special exceptions. People who were Ba'ath Party members in name only, but actually didn't participate in the horrors of Saddam's regime directly. Those people shouldn't be shut out of the system. There are plenty of innocent, capable, qualified people who shouldn't be excluded, who could play a role in reconstructing the country. The policy was initially set up to protect against those people being disqualified. But because the appeals process, the implementation of the appeals process is such that it's taking a lot longer for those people to get through their appeal than was originally planned, we have to refine the system, but it's just a procedural issue. Ensure that the appeals process quicker. The policy remains intact. If you were a senior member of the Ba'ath Party, and if you were part of Saddam's atrocities, you've got no place in the new Iraq.
How do you, I was reading in the context of a way to kind of pacify the Sunnis who were so much apart and benefited so much from the last government. How do you give them a piece of the action? Is that part of the thinking here?
Well, look, the senior leadership of Saddam's regime, whether they're Sunni or whomever, should have, and they were predominantly Sunni, should not have a role in the new country. When Ambassador Brimmer came here, the first thing he did was sign a de-Baathification policy into law here. It is by far the single most popular thing he's done. When he travels around the country, we hear complaints from Iraqis about a lot of things. But the one thing consistently that we hear praise for is the de-Baathification policy. For most Iraqis, the Ba'athist Party was like the Nazi Party. It represented, it symbolized the mass graves, the torture chambers, the rape rooms, the chemical attacks. That's what it was for most of them. They want that shut down, and they want the senior leadership shut out. It represented a minuscule percentage, however, a minuscule percentage of the total member. You know, there's about 1.5 to 2 million Ba'ath Party members. This represented the percentage that we were targeting was something like 1.5 to 2% of the total number. So it's a small number. But I think you're right. There's a perception out there that some were going after all Baathists, and that may have been fueled by the fact that those Baathists that shouldn't have been excluded were having a hard time getting through the appeals process. We're having a hard time getting their special exceptions met, and that's something we've got to refine.
Last question. How about the coalition itself? Is it holding? You've got the Spanish apparently abruptly leaving. That didn't make our country too happy.
Look, we're disappointed anytime a coalition member withdraws. We recognize that every coalition country has to decide for themselves, how they want to fight the war on terror, how they want to help secure Iraqi freedom. But I think it's important to just keep some perspective. We've got some 30 nations with troops on the ground. We've got close to 20 countries with civilians on the ground. I go to work every day with Brits and Australians and Poles and Slovaks. It's a very diverse coalition. Something like 15 of the NATO countries have troops on the ground. So the total effort is still strong in terms of numbers and the international nature of it.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us from Baghdad. Dan Senor, we're going to keep up with you as the weeks proceed. Coming up, General Wayne Downing, plus the man who said Iraq would be a cakewalk. Ken Edelman joins us with his response to Bob Woodward's new book, Plan of Attack. And next Wednesday, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld joins us as we mark the 7th anniversary of Hardball.
Each year, GE technology helps industry purify billions of gallons of water to a standard even higher than drinking water, because pure water just performs better. GE, imagination at work.
There's only one name that boasts the brute strength of 600 foot-pounds of class-dominating torque. One brand with the fastest production pickup on Earth with a 500 horsepower engine. One truck with the legendary Hemi that out-hauls, out-tows, and outperforms the competition. Dodge Ram. The one truck with the speed, strength, and power to put all the other trucks in their place. 0% financing or $3,000 in combined cash allowances, plus a great warranty gets you the best values in America.
Coming up, General Wayne Downing plus Ken Edelman, who said war in Iraq would be a cakewalk. Hardball, back in a minute.
I'm George W. Bush, and I approve this message.
Few votes in Congress are as important as funding our troops at war. Though John Kerry voted in October 2002 for military action in Iraq, he later voted against funding our soldiers.
Mr. Kerry.
No. Body armor and higher combat pay for our troops.
Mr. Kerry.
No. Better health care for reservists.
Mr. Kerry.
No. And what does Kerry say now?
I actually did vote for the $87 billion before I voted against it.
Wrong on defense.
When the kids left home, so did we.
We're traveling more and spending less.
Yeah, we discovered Extended Stay America.
It's a great deal no matter how long we stay, for a night, a week, or even longer.
Clean, comfortable, lots of room. There's even a full kitchen at Extended Stay America.
Personally, I love this recliner.
Why pay more and just get a little hotel room?
With all this at such a great price.
Why would we stay anywhere else?
This is the first time I can remember feeling this good about my body. I can't believe I lost almost 20 pounds in just 2 months. It wasn't magic. It was this incredibly easy diet by Nutrisystem.
It's called Nutrisystem Nourish. And with Nutrisystem, you don't have to give up almost anything.
I know so many people who have lost weight on Nutrisystem, people of all different ages and sizes, because it really works.
Nutrisystem is smart. Only Nutrisystem is based on the glycemic index, a diet specially formulated to be rich in good carbs and low in fat, so you can burn more calories more effectively.
It's just too good.
Nutrisystem is satisfying. With over 100 great-tasting meals and desserts to choose from, call now to get your 28-day Nutrisystem Nourish.